Self-determination. Stoicism was founded by Zenon of Cyprus, Citium, in the first half of the 3rd century BC. Zenon, who found the teachings of the school of Cynics close to his own, was most influenced by Socrates. His attitude during his trial, his refusal to flee, and his dignified stance in the face of death perfectly fit the Stoic doctrine. It would not be wrong to call the Stoics the early fatalists. This doctrine, which is extremely fatalistic, also defended that man is free. Many things that happen in this world are based on God's will. We cannot change or intervene. What then can we do to be happy? The Stoic answer to this question is, learn not to be affected by external factors. Learn to be indifferent to them. Therefore, in the Stoic doctrine, an individual's happiness depends solely on his or her own actions and thoughts. The better you know yourself, the better you understand and interpret what you experience. Thus, by developing your understanding of self-control, you will not allow anything to deprive you of virtue and happiness. Life can offer you unexpected experiences at unexpected moments. This is not in your hands. So what is the reason for beating yourself up and crying for days? Your job here is to use your mind and determine what is best for you to do, to be the master of your own destiny, as the Stoics say. I would like to concretize this teaching with a very simple example. Adapting it to our age. After saving money for a long time, you have reached your dream car. You started to use your car, but in the second month your car had a catastrophic engine failure. In such a situation, most of us feel angry and sad, but this is exactly where the Stoics tell us to stop. You have reached that vehicle by doing your best, but for reasons beyond your control, your vehicle has broken down. What is the reason for upsetting yourself, harming yourself, and choosing unhappiness in this situation? What did you do to deserve this? With questions like these, you need to find the self-effect in the event that occurred. To put it more clearly, what is your share in any event, good or bad, that happens to you? Likewise, you need to ask rational questions by putting your mind at the forefront and determine whether there is anything you can do about it. If you had nothing to do with it and it happened against your will, it is completely pointless to be upset. Do not trouble the soul with the course of events. The course of events does not need your distress. You can retreat into yourself at any time, because there is no place one can retreat to that is more serene than within oneself. Perhaps many of you have thought of Pollyannism here, but Stoicism is quite different from Pollyannism. First of all, the Stoic doctrine does not have a look on the bright side philosophy. They only want you to look realistically at what you are going through and make an assessment of the situation. According to them, there is no difference between upsetting yourself and depriving your soul of pleasure in an event that happens against your will and being angry with your child because the water is cut off. Both are meaningless, unnecessary, and useless behaviors. Everything is good in moderation and virtue is everything. Epicureans base their philosophy on the idea that avoiding pain would make people happy. Unlike them, the Stoics, on the other hand, believe that it would be beneficial to recognize pain and think rationally about it rather than avoiding it. However, the Stoics also think that it is foolish for us to be enthusiastic about things that happen outside of us and make us happy, and to take too much pleasure from them. For them, virtue is the only good that exists in a person's life. Things like health, possessions, and property do not matter, because virtue depends on our will. Everything good or bad that happens in our lives depends only on us. You can lose all your property, you can lose all your possessions. So what? You can still lead a virtuous life. You can even be sentenced to death, and you can turn it into something noble like Socrates. This is something that is entirely in your hands. Others have power only over external things. Virtue, the only real good, is entirely in your hands. Seneca, a statesman and one of the Stoic philosophers, was accused of planning to kill Nero and replace him with another emperor, and was sentenced to death. He was allowed to commit suicide in consideration of his great services to the state. When he was told that he did not even have time to write his will, he turned to his family and said, "Never mind. I leave you something more valuable than worldly riches, an example of a virtuous life." Then he opened his veins for suicide and called his secretaries to write his last words. As seen in the case in question, the Stoics held virtue above all else and lived accordingly. Don't let your thoughts be your enemy. According to Seneca, most of us are much more unhappy in our imaginations than in reality. Man is the only being in the living world who can be happy or unhappy with his thoughts, and most of the time he harbors unhappiness in his thoughts. It is your own thoughts that make you uneasy and lead you to unhappiness rather than what others do. It is obvious that no one can upset you unless you allow it. The meaning you attribute to people or events and the value you place on them are entirely due to your thoughts. If you can learn to control your thoughts and interpret them realistically, you can eliminate many worries from your life. For this purpose, perhaps asking yourself the following questions and answering them realistically will be useful to take a step forward. Why is what you have not good enough for you? How much has your willpower played a role in the bad things you have experienced? How happy will having something better than what you have really make you? Do you live according to the terms of your own nature or according to the terms of an artificial environment imposed on you by others? Why is what you have not good enough for you? How much has your willpower played a role in the bad things you have experienced? How happy will having something better than what you have really make you? Do you live according to the terms of your own nature or according to the terms of an artificial environment imposed on you by others? Wishing you a life in which you enjoy the pleasure of questioning, reasoning, and freedom. Stay with respect, tolerance, and knowledge.